everybody. Welcome to the MMA Heat podcast. Karyn, Bryant here with...
What's up, gang? Alan, Jouban with you as well.
And Alan, we are going to talk about Anthony Smith's victory, and we'll talk about Mike Tyson and all that. But first and foremost, we have to say, we joke that we call you Wolverine, but you really do heal up quickly. Who would know just a week ago you were in a fight?
Yeah, I mean, this fight was probably one of my top three, damage taken fights, and the first couple of days though, honestly, were slow. When I got back to LA, I took a hot bath one night, and I felt like it ballooned my face up. And I woke up the next day, my face was even more swollen. My cheeks were puffy, eye was shut. And then once 2 or 3 days of doing some cryo, icing, got the swelling out. Then the black eye stuff started just going away pretty fast. So yeah, healing up pretty good. You get these pop blood vessels in your eye.
Yeah.
And those always take the longest. Like the black eye will go away in like 10 to 12 days, but then the blood vessel thing takes about 2 weeks or more sometimes. So that'll probably be the last thing I have. But I'm going to go to the doctor today in a couple hours, check on my it's not really it's a fractured nose. So they don't have to do anything, but I just want to go get it checked just to make sure everything's healing properly.
Right.
And that I'm good to go. I don't want to, be having some type of sinus trouble in a couple months and be like, oh, why didn't I use the UFC insurance?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, because on fight night, I had sent Kenny a message and I was like, hey, what's the latest with Alan? And he said, well, yeah, it's a nasal fracture, but he won't need surgery. But yeah, like you said, if that thing heals wrong, not only will it affect you, in a future fight if you fight again, but like just in general, you want that right. So please take advantage of the doctor and go see them.
And nose is the one bone that people always mess up. Like people always get fractured or broken noses, and then they return too soon and they re-break it. I mean, I know so many fighters that have re-broken their nose before going back into competition, just from training or something like that. So I just want to go get a specialist to tell me like the severity of it, how many weeks I could expect to maybe no contact, and then go from there. That way I could have, because when you go to the ER, it's very generalized stuff. Like, okay, no brain damage, you're good. But I want to know, like, all right, what specifically is going on here? So we'll see today.
That's right. Well, glad that you're on the mend, and luckily, there was nothing majorly broken, hand or ankle or anything like that. So yeah. And a lot of people, I feel like because I know they said it to me, it was like they were congratulating me on your win. So I know that you got a ton of love on this one. And now you're a week removed from it. I know when we spoke the other day, we did the Champagne podcast, which, by the way, if people haven't checked out, they really should, because we got stupid on that one.
Man, I mean, we both pretty much capped off a bottle each. That was shocking. I've never drank a bottle of champagne by myself. That was a first.
Yeah, me neither, Alan. That was definitely a first for me too. Yeah, no, that's never happened before.
You're right. Yeah.
But how much do you think? You were talking about it before, that it could be the last one. Now that you have some time and you've settled into it a little bit, what are your thoughts? Because I personally do still think it would be amazing if you could fight Carlos or, the like somebody like Matt Brown or something like that. But at the same time, I also am like, yeah, if you stop, that's cool.
Yeah, I know it's still, I'd say I probably haven't gotten any more of a definitive answer one way or the other since we last talked. But it's still the same thing, that if this was my last dance, it was such a good way to go out, in terms of like, I came into the UFC as kind of like a fight of the night, go to war type of guy. And although I didn't want to get hit this fight, it felt good to know that like I entertained the fans. I used a lot of my new skills. I still got hit, but I used a lot of my boxing skills, head movement and things like that. The Dana White was so happy at the end. He came up, like I said, and he shook my hand after. And so it was gratifying to know that all that happened. I got the W. I'm not injured. Yeah. And if this was my last hurrah, that I can go out knowing that I was proud of my last accomplishment, my last fight.
Right.
But there still is that piece of me that that says, but what about a legacy fight, or what about, what if there's still two or three more fights? Like, I don't know. But I think for now, I'm just gonna say, enjoy the victory, keep getting the body healed up, and then doing some, desk work with you guys, and then hopefully sometime early next year, I'll kind of have that feeling, that burning in my chest, what I want to do or not. But I know my family is kind of saying, I think you've done enough. I think you should walk away. And so I respect that, because you don't ever want to leave everything you have inside the cage and then not be the same afterward. And that was one of my biggest things with fighting, is like I didn't want to be that person who had nothing left after fighting. And I still have a lot of me left in me. And so is it like, do I have enough left in me that I want to continue fighting, or enough left in me that I just want to take what I have and continue the rest of my life on whatever journey it takes me? So we'll see. I got a little deep there, but I think in the next couple months I'll have a better answer of what's going to happen.
Well, and there's a lot to consider, right? And this actually flows really nicely into the discussion on Anthony's victory, because he really needed a win. He was on a skid. He hasn't won since the Alexander Gustafsson fight. Then he was off for a long time. He was injured. He lost to Rakic. He lost to Glover, right, exactly. And so he was saying, if had it been a 3-round fight for Glover, I think I would have won that one. And that, he's like, not taking anything away from his opponents, but he had a really rough year. His house had gotten broken into. He had to face a vandal. There's all this stuff with COVID, all this just a lot going on. And Anthony has been doing desk work with us. Was doing a podcast or a radio show on Sirius and stuff. So there's a lot going on for him. And he did say now that he realizes that, maybe some of those things, it was a harder year than he thought. He really felt good for him to get back on the winning track, and that he learned that when it is time for him to go into a fight camp, he'll learn to kind of shut down some of those other things, right, and just focus on the fighting. Because he said something like, you don't know how you can handle it until you found out you can't handle it all, right? So, but just that feeling, and I know you felt it recently too, of getting back on the winning track, and how good that must have felt for him, and that sense of relief, because you saw it in there. You saw the way he was yelling and screaming and everything, and I'm still here, mother effers, and all this stuff. Like, you could sense a huge amount of relief on him.
I totally could empathize in what he was going through, Karyn. He said the same thing. I saw that interview where he said something about, you forget what it feels like to win.
Right.
And that kind of resonated with me, because I had that feeling for such a long time. I came off of a loss. It was about 1.5 years since I had fought. And so that whole time, when you're coming off of a loss or you don't have a win, it feels like your money's not making you money. It's like you have no investments, if that makes any sense. It's just like, when the fight is done, the fight's done. There's no more bonuses coming. There's not more sponsorships coming knock at your door. There's not more opportunities happening, because when you lose a fight, you either keep exactly what you had or you lose a lot of it. And so, and just going to the gym every day, the people that tap you on the back, say, man, that was an awesome fight. And the kids that go, oh, well, watch that fight with my dad. That stuff means a lot, and it's fun. And when you don't have that for a while, you get used to that feeling of I have to prove myself. I need to do something. I can't be in this rut. And so him getting that win, me getting my win, I totally understood where he was coming from, because it becomes fun again. You can kind of take the weight off of your shoulders. That you've got that win. You sleep good at night with a smile on your face. That exciting things that come. That, I'm probably going to get some more sponsors now. Yeah. Opportunities will come my way again. So it's just like a happy relief when you get that W, especially having not gotten one in so long. Like you said, he had, and he is right. If he'd have fought that Glover fight and it had been 3 rounds, he was winning the early rounds. Right. He got kind of caught in the end, and it was kind of going downhill. Yeah. That was one thing, Karyn, that surprised me when they offered him this main event's fight, and he said, "Yeah, we need to go 5 rounds for the fans, for Dana White, for the UFC. We owe it to them." And in my head, I was thinking, well, this is giving your opponent the best chance of winning going the longer rounds, because typically Smith starts pretty fast. He's a pretty fast starter. He usually wins that first round, and then he might get caught or slow down. So it was kind of a gamble for him taking that, but the gamble paid off in a big way. I mean, he was kind of a flawless victory with that. Didn't take any damage, got the early victory, got the bonus, able to fight again, get that feeling. So all in all, he probably couldn't have asked for anything more in this fight than what he got.
Well, and to the point about the rounds too, because when the fight with Rakic got moved to the main event, he said no, they wanted to keep it. He kept it at a 3-round. I think in hindsight, if I'm not mistaken, he was like, yeah, maybe I should have done 5 in that one, because I think he would, if he had more time against Rakic, even though your point, if you're saying he's slowing down, the Rakic fight was a lot of wash, rinse, repeat, but maybe he would have been able to rally if there was more time in that one. I'm not sure. Rakic is a big, huge, big, strong guy. Anyway, he was saying he felt kind of just he could tell how strong that guy was and big, and
Yeah.
because Anthony's kind of weird, right? Because he used to be a middleweight and now he's a light heavyweight. He doesn't really have to diet to make light heavyweight. So I know that was an issue for him, was that size difference. And then people were talking, oh, move up. And if he was really going to do that, he said he was going to need to take a lot of time off to really build a lot of muscle and all this stuff. It was going to change a lot of things. So there was also not only just losing, but there was him second guessing, wow, shoot, am I even in the right division anymore now? And am I even, there was just a lot of questions for him. And to the point I want to ask you about, one thing is the desk work, right? So Anthony was going to come to Fight Island with us in October, and he didn't because he had some family-ish things. And then also, I forget when this fight came up. But anyway, he didn't go. But I know for you, when you worked that fight with us with Anderson, then you knew you had a fight coming up and you were already booked for something in December. So not only did you already put a lot of pressure on yourself because you needed to win for a lot of other things, but I know you wanted to win to solidify your validity at the desk as an analyst. Hey, I'm a winner. I deserve to be here. And I know that has to be eating away at Anthony too. And I work with him a lot. I work with him and Rashad a lot. We are a great team together. And they spend a lot of time talking about the ups and downs of their careers, the hard times, the good times. They've really bonded really well, and I've picked up on a lot of that stuff from spending so much time with the two of them. But I know that was in his head as well. Like, shoot, how am I going to go to the desk and be the man when I can't win a fight, And so I know that was weighing on you as well.
It was. For me, it was a big deal. It was. I'm getting my opportunity at the desk. I wanted to do good at the desk, and then I wanted to capitalize it, icing on the cake, right, with the big victory and solidify it. And then it brings that confidence out, right? You can exude this confidence when you talk because you know what you're talking about. You can back it up. We all know what we're talking about, but we can back it up.
Right.
We can say that, look, in adversity, we have faced these challenges and we have dealt with them accordingly. Same thing with Paul Felder. Paul Felder, he gets on people about weight cut because the guy cut 20 pounds on a couple days' notice for his last fight. I was worried about Paul when Paul Felder took that fight, went 5 rounds, lost the fight. But, he lost the fight pretty, lost every round.
Right.
But he showed so much heart that it wasn't like, oh, Paul's not good enough. It was like Paul took a fight on last minute and went 5 rounds with RDA.
Right.
But I kind of thought, how would this play into his commentary going into the Dana White Contender Series on Tuesday? Just a few days taken from this fight that he lost with the cut on his head. Would this take any of his confidence away? But Paul is such he kind of rescued the card on that one. I don't think it affected him. But getting back to what you're saying, with Anthony Smith, the guy that's been working the desk repeatedly for a little while now, and he's kind of become a face at the desk, and being on a losing streak, it's tough. It's tough to go out there and say, I see these openings and I see these, and this is what they should be capitalizing on, and analyze things when you're analyzing everything on of your own self at the time.
Right.
So I know this victory. It just felt great to get the victory, the feeling like a winner again, like we talked about. Yeah. But then I think, matter of fact, it's me, you, and Anthony working the desk December 19th. I could be wrong, but I think I saw in the email.
That's great. Yeah, because I don't even know who I'm working with. I'm working this weekend. I don't know who I'm working with. But if it's you, me, and Anthony, that's going to be awesome. Yeah,
you're there all the time. I think I got the lineup for the December 19th card. Me, Karyn are working it. It's that fire card with Shemaev and Leon Edwards. And I think I saw Anthony Smith on there as well. So I'm assuming it might be us 3.
Yeah, cool.
And so it'll be great because me and Anthony haven't worked together yet. We're both coming off of much-needed wins. Right. Both coming off of a short layoff from the fight to the death. And so we'll have a lot in common at the time. And I think it'll be a good love fest of just like being happy and appreciative to be there again. We got our victory. We did the hard work. The payoff, the reward is just getting to sit there and talk fights with you and just enjoying it, not having to go and make that walk.
You just gave me such good news. If it's the two of you on the 19th, that makes me really happy because you guys don't really even know each other, but you're gonna get along great. Like I'm so excited for this.
I can't wait. I really hope. I've been seeing rumors that Shemaev they thought he had COVID and this and that. I think they said that it's fake news. Right. They're still go, but man, it's one of those cards that, even though it's not a UFC pay-per-view, I'm getting sidetracked, folks, but December 19th, one of the best cards of the year, we're working it. It's one of those cards that makes me nervous, because when you see the lineup a little early, you go, shit, who's going to fall off? Please, nobody. Please no main event, co-main event, even co-main event. It's like a welterweight kumite. There's so many good welterweight fights and other fights on that card that if we can have that card in its entirety,
right,
it's gonna be like the presents before Christmas for all of us. It's gonna be a fun night.
I love it. Oh, I'm so excited that you two are going to work together
Yeah,
now. This is great. This is going to be great. And so here's the question though for you. What do you think Anthony should do next after the fight? He did talk about fighting Paul Craig, and we mentioned this. He beat Shogun last week. And so one of the things that with Anthony getting that finish, so now he caught up to Paul with the most amount of finishes in the light heavyweight division since 2018. It's 5. I did my After the Facts video. People can check that out. So we got some facts and figures on the fight. But so that's one of those things where Anthony mentioned him after the fight, and he said, yeah, you know, because Anthony was ranked number 6 going into this fight. Paul's currently number 14. You know, Devin Clark wasn't ranked, right? So Anthony knows. He said, look, I was supposed to do that to Devin Clark. No disrespect, but I'm supposed to do that to this guy. You know, I'm a former title challenger, and that was a good win for him to get back on the horse and just to feel good again about himself. But he should have done that, right? And so even though he's saying I want to climb back up to the title, you know, Anthony has fought a lot of people, and so he says, fine, I might have to fight some people below me in the rankings. I know Paul is trying to get up to a title shot. You know, he's been winning some fights and is trying to get, you know, work his way up. So he's at number 14 now. Paul has the most triangles in the UFC. He's got the triangle record. Like, they are both great grapplers. And I do think it would be really exciting to see them, and the fact that they've both called each other out. I know Sean loves it when people make it easy for them. And it's funny though, because you hear this when people are like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. I'd love to like get in there and get into a grappling exchange. And then I feel like maybe they wouldn't even grapple and we would just see them striking, right, which I don't want to see. Like I would want to see those two grapple. And I would be curious to see how that went. I'd be curious.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I think I heard Anthony Smith say this, but we know this as well. Anthony, he's had some losses recently. Yeah. He moved up very fast. He came into the UFC, tore up some wins, went up in weight class, challenged for the title, became a big name very fast, a very fast rising star. Right. And then he suffered some losses. And so at this point, when you've already fought some of the best guys in the world at the division, and then you went on a streak of losses, I think we know that he can't just say, okay, I want that title shot. I want the number 1, number 2 guy. It makes sense for him now. Most people never want to fight backwards in line. If you're number 6, you only want to fight 5 and above. Right. But for Anthony, it makes perfect sense right now, in my mind, to fight below him because it gives him more winnable fights and it makes it more interesting because he can't, like you said, I just said, you can't go out and call the number 1, 2 guy again because you've already fought some of them and you've had your opportunity in a division where everybody wants that shot, you know. So he's had that opportunity. He just fought an unranked opponent, was able to finish him uninjured. Paul Craig called him out. It's kind of an intriguing matchup, like you just set it up with the submissions, with both them having similar opponents. Right. And anytime you could take the hard work away from Sean Shelby and them and say, look, these two guys want to fight. They're both ranked fighters. It makes sense as an intriguing matchup. Yeah. And it's good for both guys because if Craig wins, he jumps up that line dramatically, right? Great call out for Craig. And it's a smart fight for Smith because it's a very winnable fight against still a ranked opponent. And a win over Craig, it still gives him enough credibility to now say, okay, now I want a little bit of a bigger name or a higher ranked, rather, opponent. So I think that fight makes perfect sense. And both guys coming off of victories, maybe you make that a main event or a co-main event or something. It has a little more something to it. So easy fight. As soon as that tweet came out, it's like, yes, that's easy money. Put that one on the board right away.
Well, yeah, and that's it's a great fight, and it could be a main event. Anthony, I think the other day was his 7th straight main event. Even though, you know, sometimes he's been listed as the co-main event, but then they've fallen out. So that's like the last 2 times he fought, I think he actually was scheduled as the co-main event. And then the main event fell out because this week it was supposed to be Black Beast.
You know what I wonder, Karyn? So for those of you, our viewers, that may not know this, but main eventers, depending on the weight class, so you normally get an extra little something, a little extra purse. I think it varies from weight classes, but normally you get at least 25 extra G's if you main event, and the bigger weight classes, I believe, is like 50 G's extra. So I wonder, like, because you're the one promoting it more, you're doing more interviews, etc. You're the top billed athlete. So I wonder in these fight week circumstances, when the main event falls out, co-main becomes the new main.
Right.
I wonder how that discussion goes. Do the UFC still give that 25, 50 extra G's to the former now main event slot? It'd be interesting to see if they do that, man. Because if that's the case, yeah, Anthony, like you said, on a number of fights has been the co-main, slid into the main event slot, and earned himself an extra 50 G's if that's what they're doing.
You know, another reason I like that fight too is they are both finishers. This is something that I actually talked to Sean about when we were in Fight Island the first time we were talking, and he said something about like, well, you know, the thing about it when you put Paul on a card, you're going to get a finish. Like, you know, he's lost a few, and the ones that he lost, sorry, we have construction going on here and the dogs are freaking out. I think the ones that he lost, he did get knocked out. But all the other times he's won, he's finished, right? And so same thing with Anthony. I don't think he's very often gone to a decision. So there's also the appeal of that, in that maybe it would be a submission victory or maybe who knows what, but neither of them generally go to decisions. And so that's also one of the things that I know the matchmakers are like, cool, we might get a finish, and people like that more.
Yeah, well, I think Anthony, I agree with all that. I do think Anthony, though, is a guy that finishes you. Yeah, but doesn't always get finished, because Anthony is a guy that, like, he's kind of hard to put away.
He's hard to get rid of, exactly, yeah.
Some of those last fights, I think it was like TKO ref stoppage.
Right.
But as far as, like, finishing him, knocking him out or submitting him, Anthony's one of those guys that doesn't go away. You remember, his teeth were falling out.
I know.
He was busted up, and he's just like, I'm fine. Like, he's so comfortable on the mat that if he gets hurt on the feet or on the mat, he'll go to the ground, and he's such a long-bodied guy with very flexible, good jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And he can kind of protect himself at all times, getting hit, but not getting finished or in a compromising choke position. So it's almost a curse of Anthony that he's too durable in those bad positions, because he doesn't go out or get submitted, and he takes punches when he's in a bad position for a long time. And that's sometimes how his fights have been stopped. But I agree, Paul Craig's had his ups and downs. Book it.
Yeah, well, that's why he's called Lionheart, because Anthony hangs in there forever. But that's so I know Paul's coach Bryant was saying, like, Braveheart versus Lionheart. Like, they're already working out all the ways to sell it. So hopefully it does happen. I do think that would be pretty great. And I'd be interested to see that one. I'm not sure what your takeaways are from the rest of the card. I know a lot of us were watching two things at once. We had Tyson on, and we also had on the UFC fights. And so for the rest of the night, I know, like, for Gina Mazzani, that was a good win for her over Rachel Ostovich with the liver kicks. That, you know, that was only the third time in a women's UFC fight that kicks to the body have led to the finish. Joanne Calderwood finished Valerie Letourneau that way, and also Poliana Botelho against Suri Kondo, I think it was. But otherwise, I'm not sure what what everybody's main takeaways were from that card, because I do think a lot of people were double dipping on Saturday.
Yeah, I was watching the Tyson thing, going back and forth to the UFC. So I didn't watch a lot of it, but I'll throw a couple little takeaways that I can remember. The co-main event that got moved up, Soto, who's a very dangerous, I believe, southpaw striker from Japan, and he fought the Brazilian guy. Do you remember the Brazilian guy's name?
Yeah, he fought Miguel Baeza.
Yes, beat Matt Brown. I didn't get to watch that fight because of the Tyson fight, but I was very intrigued about it because the Brazilian guy has had some big wins and has kind of been on a tear since he's been in UFC. I thought this was an interesting stylistic matchup for him to go out there and get the submission victory, to add another feather in his cap in ways that he could finish people after knocking out Matt Brown, submitting Soto. This guy's on a tear. This guy's a dangerous guy. I believe he got a bonus as well. I think he's managed by Black House. So or one of the Brazilian management companies, Black House or another one. But he's a guy to look out for in the welterweight division. And then I wanted to say, my teammate at Black House, Ashlee Evans-Smith, it did not go her way that night. They were kind of hinting, if you watched the fight during a broadcast, that in the pre-fight meeting, Ashlee may or may not have been dealing with some injuries. She didn't quite look like herself. And I don't know if she already kind of went out and said it. And so I'm not trying to let the cat out of the bag, but I know we've been talking for months, and she's had some neck injuries, something similar to what I had, where can barely do a push-up, barely any strength in her hand. I think she's going to have a procedure done. So I don't want to get too many details, because I don't know them all, and I don't know last week spoke. I don't want to say something that's inaccurate, but she did go into that fight with injuries, and it was one of those things where she needed to fight. she needed to make money. She needed to make sure she can get herself taken care of after the fight. And she did what she had to do. And I feel bad for her because I know that position of having to do that. And yeah, you want to be in your best camp, your best shape and strong. And when you can barely even do a single push-up and you're a wrestler and you're not able to really commit to a takedown because of that, it's tough. You have to just go in there and try to put on a show, but people are going to perceive it as like, you stunk it up that night with not knowing what was really happening. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. Like, she went out there and put on a gutty performance while she was not at all healthy. And she went and owned it on social media afterwards. She did an interview on her Instagram kind of saying, and not even drawing a bunch of light to the injury, but just saying, it wasn't my best performance. I had things going on, had to do what I had to do, etc. So shout out to her. I hope she gets that taken care of, heals up, comes back stronger, because I've been there, and those are the worst. Anything spinal or neck related, it takes you out of your comfort zone completely.
It really does, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Ashlee's a really nice girl, and that's unfortunate, obviously, the injury and going into the fight. The only thing I would say to that is, yeah, you need your money and yeah, you got to fight, but you also have to then weigh how much damage did you potentially do to your career also, though, because going into a fight and not performing well when you're healthy is one thing, and going into a fight, not performing well and being injured, and then afterwards when the boss is like, wait, you knew you were hurt and then you knew coming in you were going to maybe not give me a great fight. Like, that's tough, because I could see how the bosses might not be so excited to know that you came in knowing you could only give a 50% performance, you know? And then it is tough because, yeah, sure, anything can happen in a fight. Ashlee might have totally won that fight. And then we would have never known, and it would have never been an issue, right? So it's just tough, because to lose, and then yes, you'll get your insurance and you can get fixed up, but you might have damaged your career in another way. So that's tough. That's a tough situation.
No, when I was saying it, that was in the back of my head the whole time, because that's the gamble that you're taking, the risk. If I was in Ashlee's position and the bosses approached me in that way, my defense would be like, well, look, I'm always injured for my fights, and I always fight injured. How injured was I? Maybe more than normal in this fight, but pulling out of a fight, you almost get the same slap on the wrist as you do with fighting injured, because I've pulled out of numerous fights and I hate it. It's pulling out of a fight is like the worst feeling, because you have to call the UFC, let them know. Everybody's asking, what happened? What's wrong? And that. It's like you have to explain yourself. It's just the worst feeling. And when you pull out of a fight, you lose all momentum. And so it was probably Ashlee. That's what I would say if I was Ashlee. I would say, look, I could have pulled out and screwed you guys over and tried to, and then you wouldn't have known what to do with me or this or that. Or I just said, you know what, I'll suck it up and I'll fight hurt. Conor McGregor fought hurt before on some of the biggest pay-per-views we've ever seen. Obviously, this may be a different injury, but it's all in there. It's like we're always injured. But I totally agree with what you're saying. It's a gamble that we have to take. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, this weekend, just jumping forward for a second, I'm working this weekend, and Jack Hermanson will now be fighting Marvin Vettori. This is his third opponent. He was supposed to fight Darren Till. Darren Till gets injured, can't fight. Then he's supposed to fight Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland gets COVID, can't fight. Kevin Holland will now fight Jacare in a couple weeks. So we'll have Jack Hermanson versus Marvin Vettori this weekend, which will be interesting. And yeah, it sucks for Kevin. I'm sure he was like, this dude's fought 4 times this year already. He had to pull out of a fight. I'm sure that totally sucked. But yeah, hopefully for Ashlee that does work itself out, and hopefully she's on the mend. Like I said, cool girl. But we were talking about the fact that a lot of people were watching both things, and of course there was the Tyson pay-per-view going on as well. And I don't know where you want to start with that one. I don't think it was a draw, Alan. Was it a draw?
No. So this is what I'm very curious about, Karyn. I'm sorry, I'm so distracted right now.
I know we have people working on the house, and what do you have going on over there? Bodie?
Well, can I do a timeout break for 2 minutes? I might have to. My dog just came in from outside, and I see the biggest turd hanging off of his butt.
Oh,
he's like walking
no!
I've got to wipe this.
Okay, take a pause.
All right, give me 1 second.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I see something on the couch.
Oh, no.
Couch. Sorry, I don't know if we're rolling or not, but my dog had some dingleberries. Had to clean it up. We're back in the podcast. Tyson fight. Talking about the Tyson fight. Yeah, it was not a draw. That was not a draw. I mean, honestly, if I was scoring it, and I love both guys. I love Roy Jones was my number 2 growing up. Tyson was my number 1.
Right.
But Tyson won every round in my eyes.
Yeah.
I thought he was the aggressor. He was throwing the power punches, and he landed more. A lot of it was to the body, but nonetheless, he was landing more. I don't think Tyson got hit, but only a couple of times. And it really, from the get-go, it seemed the first round seemed like a filling out process in terms of, I go, Tyson's here to fight. Roy Jones is here for an exhibition. Right. Do they know that? Because it looks like 2 different fighters. I mean, after the bell, Tyson had that intense stare. Jones is still kind of working to the crowd or the viewers. It was 2 different fights happening. But yeah, I gave Tyson every round.
Right.
I don't understand what the whole draw thing was. I don't know if that was money related.
Right.
Or commission rules. Exhibition match related. Right. But what I'm very curious about, Karyn, I don't know if you saw this. After the fight was over, they were killing some time. I don't know if you noticed. It was like production was going on. There was some conversation. So they went to the desk, and they were at the desk for like 5-10 minutes before reading a decision. And I'm like, what is going on? They cut to Mike Tyson in the ring, and he was livid. He was cursing about something, and they cut right away real quick. And then 3 minutes later, they're standing on the walkway announcing a decision. Tyson seemed happy again. But I wonder what that discussion was, that they said, either A, we can't have a winner, so we have to do a draw, or because of the betting or the money line or something. I feel like something in that decision pertaining to the draw pissed Tyson off, because they showed him for a second, and he was very unhappy about something. But again, then you go to the draw, they announce it. Tyson said, I'm happy with it. Roy Jones wasn't, but I gave Tyson every round. Is that something about how you saw it?
Yeah, I mean, there were times when Roy would have a flurry, you know what I mean, and get some shots off and stuff. But I definitely saw it for Mike. Mm-hmm. One thing that was funny afterwards in the interview, Jim Gray was talking to both of them, and he's asking Roy, how do you feel and this and that. And I love Mike's like, what about me? He's like, how come nobody ever wonders about me? And it's like, because he's the killing machine that you don't worry about. But I found him so endearing after this fight, just talking about, being 100 pounds overweight a year ago and what this did for him and how boxing gives him life and how you could tell, he was really alive again, right? I found that really, I don't know, I don't even know the right word for that. But I just loved seeing that. Like you saw him alive again, right? In a different way. I mean, he's kind of a patron saint, I know, for a lot of fighters, and people love to see Mike at the fights and everything like that. But just watching him back there doing his thing, and I know Rafael Cordero really well. I mean, Rafael, we were on our way back from Fight Island this last time or whatever, and we literally we landed in Vegas on Sunday night. On Monday, we were on a flight home at, let's say, 10 or 11 a.m. with Rafa and stuff. And he was going to train Mike that afternoon. They were dedicated. They were hardcore about how much they train. And so, to your point, like Mike was there to fight for real. Yeah. And he's been training like that for real. And so, I don't know if this means we'll see him fight some more now. He is still in his 50s and all that. I don't know. But I thought it was really great to see him look that good. And I did think he won. And I thought it was really cool to see that the beast wake up inside him again.
It was, you said it, like it was so enduring to see Mike up there on that stage, so grateful for this opportunity that came up in life, and for him to feel those emotions again. Mm-hmm. I love what he said. He was like, I'm scared of everything, but that's just me. That's the way I'm programmed. Everything I'm scared of, I do it in life. I face that fear, and I'm scared right now, but I'm gonna go and do it. And Mike he lets his guard down for the world. And I thought, like, the story of this fight kind of took a twist, and it may not have been this way to you, but for me, the fight began, and Mike was just zoned in.
Right.
I'm here to fight. And Roy Jones Jr. was kind of playing the antics to us, the viewers, like, hey, playing, and we're watching, like, oh, okay, so this is the energy. This is it. It's a playful thing. And then he kind of wrapped Mike up, and he said something to the camera, like, I gotta grab him, I gotta wrap him up. Mike's throwing bombs. And I go, okay, so, like, Roy Jones is now the commentator. He's the narrator of the story that we're watching in the fight between these two men. And then as the second round came along, Roy got a little quieter. Mike's passion and emotions wanting to really fight speaking louder than Roy's words in the first round. And so then the story to me became the fight, the Mike Tyson. Is Mike Tyson going to land that big one? And then by the end of the fight, for Mike Tyson to just be so happy that he got to, it was like we talked about with the Anthony Smith thing earlier.
Yeah.
To get a win again. It was a draw, whatever, but to get a win in life.
Right.
To be 20 years out of this sport, not knowing who you are as a non-fighter, and the comeback, and all these childhood memories of people that love you and grew up watching you are now surfaced, and everybody's throwing all the accolades and love that they have for you. You go out there and you perform like Mike Tyson should at 54, 56 years old. It was amazing. And Mike's got to be over the moon right now doing his podcast, smoking a little weed at the Tyson Ranch, thinking like, I did it. I look great. And now I have more opportunities in life again, because now if I want to do another super fight against Evander Holyfield or something like that, I could do it, and the people will buy it. The people will come. With that said, I don't know. Real quickly, I got to pivot on this.
Yeah.
That was an amazing performance, amazing fight. It might have been a good thing, Karyn, that Roy Jones wasn't there to really knock Tyson out. He was there to stick and move and put on a show. Mike Tyson was there to go to war. What happens if now two 50-something-year-old men do go to war? An Evander Holyfield, who I don't want to see take any more damage, has a little bit of a speech speech trouble right now at his age. And Tyson, what happens if two people that do lock horns at this age meet up? Do we see something we not want to see? Do we see what happened to Nate Robinson happen to one of our heroes like Tyson or Evander Holyfield? I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see
a young man like Nate Robinson who didn't belong there, and I'm not dogging him, but it's like, okay, it's expected. He didn't know how to fight, but he's going to be okay. He's like 33 years old. His first time ever probably getting a concussion. He's going to be all right. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Tyson, Roy Jones, or Evander, or anybody knocked out. I don't want to see that at all.
I don't want to see it either, and that is the hard part of this, is seeing the reawakening of the beast and then going, okay, now chill. Because don't go, now just stop.
Smoke the weed.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to see him go for the kill either. And fight somebody age appropriate, but really go for a fight. Yeah, that would be hard to see, because I wouldn't want to see somebody get injured, and really, why, right? I mean, don't those guys, I don't know how they spent their money, and people always, say they need money, but why do you need to do it? I would think Evander can do other things and make money. They definitely can, but I want to ask you about that Logan Paul fight, because I'm one of those people that, like, I don't really pay attention to who he is on YouTube and all that stuff. So I know the other one with KSW, I kind of sort of know who they are, and then I'm like, yeah, whatever. But it's hilarious to me that he's like, I'm going to fight Conor McGregor, and I'm going to fight. I was like, dude, pump the brakes, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's, he got it. I'll say this. I don't know Logan. Is it Logan or
was it Jake Paul? Or
Jake Paul. I think it was Jake Paul.
Chris Paul? I don't know.
I apologize if we're messing up. Paul, Jake Paul. I was actually very impressed with his post-fight speech. I thought he could have gone out there and been very obnoxious.
Right.
And he wasn't. Yes, he called out Conor McGregor, and I said, okay, now you're overstepping it. But I thought he was very he was like, I'm happy with my performance. I got respect for Nate Robinson on the basketball court. Hope he's okay. I was like, wow, this guy's a good guy. From what I saw from the interview, he could have been very obnoxious right there and tried to promote some album or something. But he was actually pretty humble with that victory, in my opinion. I thought he did pretty good, and I thought he fought pretty well as well. Going into this fight, I had a lot of people asking me about him, and I apologize because I don't know the Jake or Logan Paul brothers that well. Who's who or who's fought?
Yeah, I don't know.
Before, and I've seen them training, and what I'm getting at is these guys are big, strong, athletic guys who I believe wrestled in high school, and they've been training with pro fighters. They've been sparring with pro boxers and professional trainers for a couple of years now, and they've had these events already. They've done, like you said, KSW and a couple other fights. So it
was Jake Paul. Sorry, Jake Paul.
It was Jake. Okay. Yeah. So though they have not reached the nuances of boxing yet, the subtleties, the sweet science, all those things that come with boxing, they're very offensively proficient.
Yeah.
And they could definitely knock you out, as we saw. They've got knockout power.
Right.
They've got good movement. They've got athleticism. They understand the basics of boxing. And more than that, if you put them in there with a seasoned professional, it would be two different fights. The seasoned guy would be in the pocket moving, where you could see Jake and Nate were still on the outside, kind of like street fighting a little bit. But what I'm getting to is, to wrap this up, people ask me, how good is Jake? Is he gonna get beat? I go, dude, he's an athlete. Like, he will beat somebody up in a street fight, and he will beat somebody up in an exhibition pro debut fight.
Right.
Nate Robinson is the one that I'm worried about, because I haven't heard anything about him. He's been doing this for what, 6 months?
No, and he was out.
That was a very bad knockout, because I always say this, it's not almost how bad you get knocked out, but it's how bad you fall. And when you face plant, I mean, I'm worried about his neck. He hit his face so hard that I felt like it was a ripple effect down his spine because of the angle that he hit. Like, any cervical surgeon would have looked at that and been like, oh, you might need neck surgery after this. So he was out for a long time. It was bad. But yeah, the Paul brothers, Jake and Logan, they're the real deal. They're not ready for high caliber seasoned opponents. But if they want to fight any celebrity or a pro fighter with under 5 fights, they're going to do well, and they're going to make money. They have a great following. And I mean, his stock just went up incredibly because he just posterized Nate Robinson. That was, Jordan is off the hook. Michael Jordan's been crying for 5 years on the internet, and Jordan had to be thinking, thank you, Nate, because you just took me away. Now everything is going to be Nate Robinson laid out for 5 minutes not getting up. So I felt bad for him. It was an incredible knockout, but I wasn't somebody reposting all kinds of stuff because I was like, you know, the guy stepped up and took a fight against. It was a tough fight for him, and you know, he paid the cost, but he still took the fight.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I saw, you know, like people were kind of joking to some of the football players, like even when they were stretching on Sunday, they're like, oh, look, they're doing the Nate Robinson challenge, like, you know, which is harsh, which is cold. And I agree with you, even just to step in there, take some bravery, take some cojones. But I will say, I don't know if I love these celebrity boxing things and stuff. Like, if you want to go for it for real, maybe be a real fighter here, but I don't know. I don't know how many more of these I need to see of so-and-so celebrity coming in to fight, and I don't
love it either. I was very curious about this fight, but I don't love it. And, you know, Teddy Atlas, I saw a tweet that he had, and he said exactly what was on my mind.
Yeah.
Fights like this, we know it's about the money, but fights like this, how much does it really do for the integrity of our sport, of boxing? And Teddy already said it. He already said the UFC has already come in to this combat sports world and taken from boxing, you know, and now even people like Teddy Atlas, my boxing coach, Robert Sally, these hardcore old school boxing guys are big UFC fans now because they see the entertainment. Their first fight on the card or the 12th fight on the card is an amazing fight. It's not a snooze fest and then a one main event like most boxing cards. But now boxing has resorted to the money fights where they get the celebrities, the YouTubers, etc. And, you know, an older Mike Tyson. It was amazing. But where is the sport going right now in boxing? It's a little unknown. I think it's hurting the integrity of boxing. So, yeah, I don't know how many more of these they want to continue to do because I think boxing is not in a great place. Even though a ton of people watch this fight, the integrity of the sport, the purists, it's not going in a good direction for them.
It's a little tough. I will say though, I enjoyed Snoop's show during the. I'm a sucker. I love it. Like, I thought he was great. You know what I mean? I thought it was really fun, and the whole thing. I will say, like, they definitely put on like the party for that pay-per-view and stuff. I think I would have gone a little crazy watching the whole thing, from the beginning of the night, because it seemed like they spread it out a lot. Yeah. But I did enjoy Snoop and those last couple of fights and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm good on the freak show fights for a while. Because did you see there was that girl that fought the 500 and something pound guy over in Japan the other day?
Yeah,
like, dude, come on.
That was a little crazy. Yeah, and you know what I would say? I would give this. What company put this on again? Was it Triller?
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job. Never heard of this company. You always wonder, this isn't a well-oiled machine. Right. Are they going to know how to produce this properly, timing? all in all,
Right.
I thought they did a pretty good job, and I thought the production quality was pretty good with the white ring, the lighting,
Right.
blacking out everything, so you couldn't tell that no one was in the
Right.
stands.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought they did a really good job, but I did think it was a bit overkill in terms of like all the performances. Every performance, they were dropping the N word like 50
Yeah.
times, smoking weed. Like I hate to sound like some parent adult, but it's like, all right, like it's boxing, it's football, it's a sport.
Right.
This isn't the MTV Music Awards, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, video awards. So, I would like for them to decipher a little bit more. Like this is a sporting event with a performance,
Right.
but instead they tried to mix the entertainment, almost outweighing
Right.
the sports, and it became like, all right, like because I can't really watch this with my son.
Right.
Too much because he's going to be asking, you know, like I want it to be one or the other. So
Right.
I like them to die down on that. Last note on the Karyn, Izzy. I thought
Izzy on the
did a good
mic,
job.
right?
I thought Izzy did a good job.
Yeah.
He was poised, well spoken, like he always is.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a really good job. The first time seeing him work a job like that, he was very good at them handing the question off to him, him
Right.
delivering it, handing it back. Because you see some people that are fighters, they go and they explain and they over explain and this and that, but he knew how to just tighten things up, make a point, hand it back to you. So congrats, Izzy, man. Nice job on the debut of that commentary gig.
Agreed. And did you see, I was looking at his Instagram, he was rocking that Dolce & Gabbana tuxedo looking sharp.
Eric Williams did the photography on that. Yeah, of course. It looked great.
Good. Yeah, it was good stuff. I agree. It did look cool, but now you do sound a little bit of like, why did J-Lo and Shakira dance at the halftime of the Super Bowl and show their booty?
like that.
That's what you sound like now.
that.
It's for families.
Yeah. No, I like that. But, you know, I don't know. It was
I agree with you. I'm just giving you shit.
No, I know. But it just felt to me like every performance, it was like, how can we outdo that? Like, let me get a bigger blunt.
A bigger blunt, right.
The bigger blunt, they were like, who could curse the most, you know? And I was like, it's becoming kind of like a piss contest or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I don't know. I think we've talked before. You know, I don't love the N-word. Like, I'd never say it.
Right,
ever.
right.
And it was a running joke with Tyron. He would try to get me to say it if we were like singing along to a song or something. Like, I really don't like it, so I really don't use it. But yeah, I agree. Like, it would have been tough sitting there with a kid, and I know that the word to some people has been desensitized, but not to me. And I don't love it.
Well, that's kind of why I was sensitive towards it, because I grew up saying that word in Louisiana, like with everybody. With that's how it just grew. It was okay. Black or white didn't matter.
Right.
As I've with times and with maturity, I don't say that anymore. Especially it's a sensitive time in the world. We're not getting political, guys. I'm just talking about the event.
Yeah.
But my son the other day, we're watching TV. He blurts it out. 30 seconds goes by, Karyn. Listen to me. 30 seconds goes by. I'm looking at the TV and I'm going. And I go, what did you just say? And then I go, he looked at me like scared. I go, what did you just say? He, instead of telling me what he said, he raps a whole verse ending with the word. I go, oh, I get it. I go, where did you hear that? He goes, on TikTok, on that song.
Right.
I go, you don't, you know, I went into the parent. I said, you can't ever say the word. It's a sensitive time in the world. There's a lot of meaning behind it. You can't say the word, blah, blah, blah. He started crying. And then I realized, I go, it's not his fault. It's not people's fault. It's what we're pumping out there in the world. And I know I sound like a parent again, but I go, if my son, who has never heard me say that word in my life, has never heard an ounce of like black or white, and everything is like red glove, blue glove, or we'll say, you know, the big black guy, this or that.
Yeah.
He's never, and all of a sudden for him to like say something like that and then to feel ashamed, I was like, we're teaching him this crap.
Yes,
every song that he listens to teaches him this crap. And so if he'd have watched the Tyson fight, I'd be like, dude, you finally get to watch Mike Tyson, my childhood hero. When I was 8, I watched Tyson. Now you're 8, you get to watch Mike Tyson. And then he hears the N-word 200 times, and he's like, what's that big cigarette everybody keeps smoking? And why do they keep talking? It's like, I get it now. I get why like some of this stuff has to be cleaned up, because like how are we gonna teach the youth the right thing if we're just teaching them the wrong thing? So I know I'm on a trip right now, but that was my last week. My son saying that, watching the Tyson fight, I'm like, oh, it's making sense now. Like, so that's
I would have freaked out if I had been like, Cage, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Like,
here, I was trying to make a new word. I was like, did he try to say like Was he trying to say something else? After I was like, but no, he was rapping the song that, you know, he hears on TikTok every day, and, you know.
Well, plus I saw your video. You posted that he's going to be a breakdancer too.
Yeah, he's a dancer, a rapper, a beatboxer. He's just get him to focus on school. It'd be good, but he's in everything else.
Maybe you just need to rap it. Like, you need to have him watch Hamilton. Like, you just need to rap the history for him, and he'll learn it.
It'll be history, big words. He could be like Will Smith, like a non-cursing rapper. Will Smith doesn't say curse words in his rap songs, so.
Because Get Jiggy With It is definitely on my workout mix, as is Summertime. So.
And Wild Wild West.
Oh yeah. Although I will say this, my daughter is older, but same thing. We don't use that word here, and she knows it from songs. You know, she's older. She's 14 now, but I do remember the first. Like, there are times when we're in the car or whatever or somewhere, and I'm like, how do you know this song? And they all know him off of TikTok or this or that, and she'll come in with some hardcore, like, she's rapping Travis Scott or this or that. I'm like, kid, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? But I can't. I'm a music person, so I kind of can't hate on it. I think it's kind of great, and like, the music is one area where I'm like, yeah, sometimes the bad word is a little bit of a thing, but when it comes to N-word and all that, then yeah, that's a little different.
It's a weird one, because you hear a song and you gotta finish the verse,
right?
But like I said, when my 8-year-old son just starts saying the word by itself because it's in songs, I'm like, okay.
Well, the problem is, with 8 years old too, because you don't need him saying that to somebody else. Like, you don't need to have him saying that to somebody else and then be like, get a call from somebody's parent.
You learn that, your mom or your dad? No.
Right.
But right. Yeah, so it was a weird one. It was a weird week.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, so that about does it. Obviously, we're a little bit of MMA and a little bit of parenting tips here for you. So yeah, like I said, I'm going back out to Vegas on Thursday, working the Hermanson Vettori fight, which will be interesting. And before that, what else do we have going on? I think that's it. So on Instagram, I'm KB Heat. On Twitter, Karyn Bryant. You can follow Wadek, our producer. Across the board, just WADEECK. Alan, where can people find you?
Yep, follow them, guys. Follow me at Alan Jouban on all my social media platforms.
Right. And remember, these are also available as audio downloads. We put them on MMA.audio, so you can find them all there. And Alan, by next week's show, you will never know you were even in a fight.
We'll be all healed up again. I can't wait.
Awesome. All right, well, folks, hopefully everybody had a great Thanksgiving who celebrated it. I totally threw down and cooked up a storm, but I guess now we're on to Christmas, so everybody just take care out there. Be safe.
Take care, guys.